Ciao Em. So, yesterday we learned about finding slope of a line. And to find slope of a line, they're measuring the steepness of a line. So today we're going to learn two things. We're going to learn how to graph that line now, given an equation. Now we have an equation, can we create that line? And if we're giving information about that line, can we write an equation? So take a look. So before we get started, we're going to talk about graphing and writing linear equations. There's three equations of a line you need to know. So take a look. The first one's called y-intercept form. And if you remember y-intercept form, it's y equals mx plus b. This form, what's special about this form? This form helps us graph a line. Every time they say graph a line, you're going to use this form, y equals mx plus b. There's two components to this form. There's the m. Do you guys remember what the m stands for? Good. The m stands for slope. Perfect. And there's a b. Do you guys remember what the b stands for? The b stands for, if you don't remember, is y-intercept. So what does that mean, y-intercept? Think about intercept, like interception, intersection. There were where two things cross. So y-intercept is where the line crosses the intercept the y-axis. So y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. Then you have another form. The form number 2 is called point-slope form. Why is point-slope form important? Point-slope form is for writing equations. Every time in the direction it says write the equation of a line, you're going to use point-slope form. Every time it says graph a line, you're going to use y-intercept form. Perfect. If it says write the equation line, you're going to use point-slope form. Good job. There's a couple things in here that you don't notice. First of all, every equation has x and a y. So they have an x and a y, but there's a couple things here. You have a y1 and an x1, which is different. What does x1 and y1 usually represent? They usually represent a point. Any point on the line is designated by x and y, and then they mark it as 1 because it's one of the points. Also, anything else, any other variables that you have to make note of. There's an m. And what does m stand for? M stands for the slope. Perfect. So every time you write the equation of a line, you need two things. You need a point, you need a slope, and then you can write the equation of a line. Finally, the third equation of a line is called standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. What's the purpose of this? Why do we need to have three equations? The purpose of this one, strictly, it just looks pretty. It looks nice. In this equation, there's no fractions, there's no decimals, it's clean. And it just looks nice. Other than that, it's pretty much no particular use than just aesthetics. So, today we're going to learn how to graph and then write the equation of a line. Let's go through graphing first. Our first problem. Graph y equals negative 2/3 x minus 1. First of all, before we graph it, look at the instruction. It says graph. Every time we graph, we put it in what form? Very good. Y-intercept form. So y-intercept form looks y equals mx plus b. Note, y is by itself, everything else on the other side. Take a look. Is y by itself? Everything else on the other side? We're good to go. When we're graphing this, we need to find two things. Do you remember those two things? You need to find the slope and the y-intercept. We need to find m. We need to find b. Look here. Look at location. What's m here? M is going to be negative 2/3. Take a look. The negative, well, where does the negative go? Does it go on the top? Does it go on the bottom? Does it go in the middle? If you want, you could put the negative on top or on bottom. I like to put on top. Then b, the y-intercept. What's the y-intercept here? At negative 1. So how do you graph this line? You start at negative 1 on the graph. So this is the x-coordinate, this is the y-coordinate. You start at negative 1 on the graph. Negative 1 is right here on the y-intercept. Always on the y-intercept. Some people still make the mistake and start on the x-intercept. Always on the y. Then you go your slope. What's slope again? Slope means rise over run. How much you go up and down, how much you go left and right. -2 means you go down. Down how much? Down 2. So from here, From my first point, I go down 2 and right 3. 1, 2, 3. Everyone see that? I go down 2 and right 3. Once I have 2 points, I could graph my line. So I just need to draw a perfect line connecting those dots. Perfect. That's how you graph a line. Good? You guys want to try again? Try another one. Graph. Every time you see the word graph, you want to put in what form? You want to put it into y-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Is that in that form? Not really. So there's a lot of fixing. Someone screwed this up and didn't put in the right form, so we got to fix that now. So how do I fix that? I need to get y by itself. I need to start moving everything else on the other side. So what I need to do, it looks like I want to subtract 1 on both sides. I got negative 2y plus 4x equals 2. Now what? Looks like the 4x is a problem, so I'm going to subtract 4x to both sides. Negative 2y equals negative 4x minus 2. Almost done. I got a negative 2 here. How do I get rid of negative 2? Since the operation is times, I'm going to divide negative 2 to both sides. So I'm going to divide everything by negative 2, everything by negative 2, everything by negative 2. That leaves me with the y equals negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2x. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is a positive 1. Now, does that look like y-intercept form? Does it look like y by itself, everything else on the other side? Good. Now I could graph it. When I graph it, I need 2 things to graph. I need the slope and a point. What's the slope here? What's my m here? My m, it looks like 2. But I don't like to just put 2. I like to make it a fraction because slope is always rise over run. It's kind of like a fraction. I want to keep it as a fraction. If it's a decimal, change it to a fraction. B is equal to 1. Now graphing this, where do I start? I start at B on where? I start B on the y-intercept. Once again, B on the y, I go my slope. My slope says 2. 2 where? 2 up, 1 to the right. So from here I go 2 up, 1 to the right. I graph my second dot. I connect the dots and make my line. Make it straight, and then you're done. That's how you graph a line. How do you guys feel? Still good? Alright, you guys ready to write the equation of a line? Let's take a look at this. It says write the equation of a line. Write the equation of a line. Every time you hear the word write the equation of a line, use what form? Use point slope form. So if you're going to use an equation, I recommend you write it out. So every time you use an equation, write it out. If you remember, as y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. First of all, I need 2 things when using this equation. What 2 things do you guys remember? 2 things I need is a point and a slope. I need a point and a slope. Do I have a point here? Yes, here's my point. Do I have a slope here? Yes, here's my slope. Therefore, I could use this equation. Let's label my points. In a point, we have an x, and we have a y. We'll call it x1, y1. Just plug it in. Y minus y1. Look over here. Where's my y1? Right here. It's going to be a negative 1. Equals m. Where's my m? 3 halves. X minus x1. What's my x1? 4. Simplify it now. I like to simplify. Actually, I like it to put into y-intercept form when I'm done, because if I put in y-intercept form, just in case someone asks me to graph it, I'll be ready to graph right away. So I'm going to put it in y-intercept form. That means I get y by itself, move everything else on the other side. A negative negative makes a y plus 1 equals, to get rid of the parentheses, I distribute that in. It'll become 3 halves x. 3 halves times a negative 4 is going to be negative 6. Minus 1 from both sides, y equals 3 halves x minus 7. There we go. There's my equation of a line already and set to graph. Good. How do you guys feel? We're at 10 minutes. Let's do one more question, and then you can answer your questions at the bottom. Sound good? One more question to go. Write the equation of a line. Every time, all the time you hear, write the equation of a line. You have to think point slope form, point slope form. So right away when I see write the equation of a line, I'm going to write point slope form so I don't forget. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Write the equation of a line through points this and this. 2 points. All right. First of all, to write the equation of a line, you need two things. You need a point. Do I have a point? Yes. Actually, I have 2 points. So that actually I have more points than necessary. So I'm just going to pick one of those two. Do you have either one will be fine. I'm just going to pick the first one. Then I need a slope. Do I have a slope here? Oh no, I'm missing a slope. But hold on. From yesterday's lesson, I remember how to find a slope, right? To find a slope, I just need 2 points. I have 2 points, so I actually can find the slope here. I need to find the slope, so I need to remember the slope formula. Can you guys help me out? I think it's like y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Good job, guys. So I just need 2 points. I got 2 points right there. I'm going to label them x1, y1, x2, y2. Plugging them in. M equals y2 is 2 minus y1 is a negative 1 divided by x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 4. M equals, the top looks like 2 plus 1 is 3. The bottom is negative 1. My slope is negative 3. So to write the equation of a line, I need two things, a point and a slope. Here's my slope. Here's my point. Now, all I got to do is plug them in, and I'm done. Let's plug them in real fast. Y minus y1. What's my y1? Over here. I'm going to call this x1, y1. Minus a negative 1 equals m. Where's my m? Right here. Negative 3, x minus 4. There you go. Distribute, simplify, and you're done. Y plus 1 equals negative 3x plus 12. Minus 1 from both sides. Y equals negative 3x minus 11. Perfect. Now I'm ready to graph. How do you guys feel? You learned 2 things today. So you learned a lot today. You learned how to graph a line and write the equation of a line. Good job, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday ready to learn.